Back here on CBS Sports HQ, Ohio State, Michigan is arguably the greatest rivalry in all of college football. There's a lot of hype around this game, and for a good reason. These teams straight up do not like each other. We've seen that on full display again and again. The last two teams to bring home a natty, and the talent on these two rosters year after year is always NFL caliber type of players, right? And especially on the Ohio State roster this season. So I want to take a look at our Mike Renner's latest mock draft. He has 3 Buckeyes going off the board in his latest mock within the top 10. 6, 7, 8. You see it there. Arvell Reese going 6 overall. Wide receiver U. We say that for a reason when we're talking about Ohio State. It's Carnell Tate going after him. And then Caleb Downs. So 3 Buckeyes off the board there within the top 10 in Mike Renner's latest mock. So let's welcome on Mike Renner and let's have a conversation, an Ohio State, Michigan prospect preview, if you will. We're starting with the 2 guys on Ohio State's defense going in the top 10. Of course, starting with Caleb Downs. You have him going 8th in that latest mock. So what makes him such a special prospect, Renner?
Yeah, we haven't seen a safety go top 10 since 2017. That was Jamal Adams. I think it happens with Caleb Downs. To me, he reminds me of like an Earl Thomas with just the pace that he plays with. He may not run a 4.3, but he's going to run the 4.4s, and he always runs in the 4.4s. Like anything he's doing, he is doing at a high rate of speed. In his 2 years at Ohio State, he's allowed only 5 yards per target. And this guy was a true freshman starter for Nick Saban at Alabama. If you know anything about Nick Saban, a former defensive back himself, if you start at DB as a true freshman for Alabama, guys like Patrick Surtain amongst them, you got the goods. Caleb Downs, he's likely to be a top 10 pick in this upcoming draft.
Okay, and if we get to the other Ohio State defender, Arvell Reese, you have him going ahead of Caleb Downs at number 6. So is that more of a fit thing, a position thing? Do you think he'll actually go off the board above Caleb Downs in the next draft coming up here?
To me, it's a positional value thing. Like, there's a reason safety hasn't gone top 10. It's just the NFL's devalued that position. But Arvell Reese is this edge, off-ball hybrid, reminiscent of guys in recent years like Jalen Walker and Abdul Carter last year, Micah Parsons a few years back, who could really play either. And for Ohio State, he does play both. The crazy thing was he wasn't even a starter, though, until this year. So really not a lot of tape on him, but the tape we do have is off the charts. The guy's 6'4", 243, and unlike those other guys I mentioned who have made that transition to edge in the NFL, he has long arms. He has the build of a traditional edge rusher. Those guys are all kind of undersized pass rushers. You see him win with strength, win with power off the edge, but it still is only 116 snaps in his career of rushing the passer. So I think the NFL is going to covet him as an edge rusher, maybe as the top edge rusher in this draft class, but he is a big wild card come draft time.
Okay, and we call Ohio State wide receiver U for a reason. Even right now, you can go on almost every single roster and pick off a receiver that is a Buckeye, and we have Carnell Tate going off the board at number 7 in your latest mock. What kind of playmaker do you think he can be at the next level, Mike?
Yeah, it's interesting because he's sandwiched between like Emeka Egbuka last year and then Jeremiah Smith next year, who's going to be like maybe number 1 overall. And he's a top 10 pick in his own right. This guy's been awesome when on the football field. Now, he's missed the past 3 games. Don't know if he'll play against Michigan, but he had 711 yards in 8 games. He is a long, rangy, deep threat. He's averaging 18.2 yards per reception this season. Doesn't have a single drop, and he's gone 12 of 13 on contested catches. His ball skills are off the charts. I watched this guy's tape after watching him over the summer, and he just looks like a different cat this fall. To me, he could easily be the first wide receiver off the board. His floor is probably somewhere around 15 after what he's put on tape so far this season.
An Ohio State receiver being potentially the first receiver off the board. I feel like we've maybe seen that before, right? If we go to the Michigan side of things, Derrick Moore, that is someone that you think can have success at the NFL level. Is he somebody that is NFL ready come day one immediately, or what do you need to see from him over the draft process?
I think so. His testing is going to be big because he's not the kind of athlete of like an Arvell Reese who we're talking about. He's more of a guy who wins with strength, wins with technique, wins with his hands. And those guys in the draft process, they kind of get picked apart because edge and D-line specifically is very much a traits-based position. How long are your arms? How fast is your 40? How high can you jump? Those matter at that position. And with him, he's more of a guy where he can point to his tape and say, hey, I have 9.5 sacks this year. I have 40 pressures on 218 pass rushing snaps. I'm winning at a top 10 rate among edge defenders in the Power 4. And that's kind of what he can hang his hat on. So he's a guy who can make a big impact in the game this upcoming Saturday, even if he may not necessarily be a sure thing as a top 100 pick.
Okay, and the other name to watch here is running back Justice Haynes. He's dealing with an injury, so we're, of course, monitoring his status for this game. But how do you view him as a prospect overall?
He has a chance to be the second running back off the board. I think everyone agrees Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love is going to be RB1 in this upcoming draft class. But RB2 is way up in the air. And when he was on the football field this year, Justice Haynes, in those 7 games, he had 6 100-yard games. He had 2 75-yard runs. His explosive ability was on display week in and week out. And this guy is rocked up. He's only 210 pounds, but he is all muscle. Guys bounce off him. I think there's a very good shot that he ends up being RB2 in this draft class, but I'd like to see him play in this game. I know he hasn't played for a while here. If he plays in this one, has a big game, I think he makes his way into the top 100 picks come April.
Mike, we certainly appreciate it. Talking about prospects to watch in the Ohio State-Michigan game happening on Saturday, noon Eastern, the first of many, many mock draft talks that we'll have over the next couple of weeks and months. Of course, make sure you check out the With the First Pick podcast. In the very latest episode, Ryan Wilson and former NFL GM Ran Carthon break down Ryan's updated big board for the 2026 draft. You can watch right now by scanning that QR code on your screen.